Hi, welcome. It's time for another A Woman for Women message for this past month. I am a little late getting this out, so I just want to say this is for the end of December and the one dealing with pregnancy when you're two people, and a special message to future mothers or mothers out there. This is for you and me and us ladies. So, my experience, I should say, I am Susan Maud Buchser-Lochocki. My experience with pregnancy and birth is from two different country experiences. And growing up, I heard horror stories about giving birth in the USA, although I do know that some people had reasonable or even enjoyable births here, but usually the ones with the very most positive experiences were people who gave birth at home. So I do think that says a lot about the medical industry in general, and especially in the USA, there is a way to bypass the medical industry and have your birth at home. So I should say I'm not a medical doctor, but I think the fact that what I've heard over the years of how births have gone in the USA, I think it's a good idea to bypass the medical industry. So the one thing that I will say, and I don't know if they're telling you to do this in the US, but at least in Europe or Switzerland they do, and they tell you to get onto vitamins. So that you have the nutrients, your body does, and then your baby does have the nutrients that it needs to grow properly without a lot of disfigurement. No cleft lips or anything like that. And so in Switzerland they have you go on vitamins even before you get pregnant. And this is a very good idea. They don't generally have the man do that, but I'm going to say that the man should also be eating pretty healthy too before any pregnancy is attempted, so that you're creating the best possible quality of child in the future. But of course, things happen, oops happens, and sometimes these things happen. So it's best to take care of yourself. Both of you, everybody involved, take care of yourself. Then my understanding is that here in the USA, you really only, it probably also depends on your insurance, but you really only get to stay one day in the hospital, and that can be a good or a bad thing, because really you're supposed to have like the first 5 days after giving birth, you should be really resting and not moving too much, because you've been through a very physical activity, and you could be very weak. And so to go home immediately and then be solely responsible for your child is a lot to ask. So I would recommend that women stay in the hospital and get special care for the first 5 days. Get training too, especially if it's your first child, and so that when you go home, you're not completely alone or shocked or anything of that nature. With that said, if you give home birth, then you're going to want a midwife or a doula or both or maybe there's like a nurse on call that can be there, or you're going to need support. It is quite strenuous, and I think support is really needed. Now, I will say, outside of all of this, I forget when it was, about 5 years ago, there was a story. Where was it? There was flooding going on somewhere. I want to say Mozambique or something, but I'm not sure. And a woman gave birth during this storm in a tree with flooding going on around her. She eventually, her and her baby were the helicopter came and got them. So it is possible to do the miraculous as well. And perhaps, giving birth standing up, which is probably sort of what she was doing, that maybe helped to not have so many complications in the birthing process. So I think part of the damage that gets done to us so much as birthers is that in the past, the hospitals had us on our backs. They didn't have us standing up, and they put these IVs into our arms, and then we couldn't even move around so easily. So, and then in olden days, supposedly they put you to sleep and took the baby out themselves. So, this is, of course, in the Western world. In the USA is mostly what I'm talking about, but standing, dancing, moving. I don't know about jumping up and down, but moving and wiggling, that's why we're so flexible, is to be able to dance and move our hips and help the baby get into place and come out. So I think, I don't remember how long it took that woman to give birth in the tree during that storm, but she did it, and both mother and child survived. So I think, we can do this in very many strange ways and strange places, but I think that at some point men wanted to learn about birthing, and they had no clue that putting us on our backs was going to make it more painful and was going to make it take a longer time. And for whatever reason, we thought they knew what they were doing. And this is where we are today. So as of right now, in Switzerland, when I gave birth, I gave birth about 24 years ago, 25 years ago, and there, if it was a normal vaginal birth, then it was 5 days in the hospital, and then you could go home. So 5 days of observation, and also baby observation and everything, and then you could go home. If you had a cesarean, then it was 10 days. And when you go home, that also comes with visits from a traveling nurse that's associated with the hospital to check in on you. And these checks go on for, I think they come twice or 3 times over the next month of being home, just to make sure you're healing fine. And of course, then there's the baby well and the mommy well checks that go on after. Then there's also the hay-bomb, so the midwife or the doula that also stops by and checks in on you as well. So there's lots of checks that go on in Switzerland. I have no idea how it works in the US currently, but I do know that the standard procedure is, if possible, in and out the same day or one overnight. And I'm going to say that that's not the best idea, but again, it depends on where you give birth, and maybe different centers have different ideas. Maybe you can stay overnight. But I think if this is not part of the usual U.S. policy, I think this needs to be added. And if you give birth at home, you still want to come into the hospital or come into your birthing center and get checked up afterwards and make sure that everything is okay. Of course, there could be traveling midwives and nurses that could come by and check you. If at some point an official birth certificate needs to be given. So there is also that concept of birth certificate. So however you decide to do it, or wherever you decide to do it, is of course up to you and what you're capable of, and whoever's going to be there assisting you is capable of. How progressive or traditional you want to do everything, that's entirely up to you. But there are new information coming out now about it's not probably new, it's just rediscovered information about birthing and how it can be and how easy it is and how difficult it can be and problems that can happen. Now, the U.S. is not on the top of the best lists of birthing practices. We have a lot of baby and mother mortality, so this is not good. We can do a lot better in our country, especially since we are supposedly the global leaders. That's what the Democrats and Republicans keep telling us, but yet the facts do not match the ego of the Democrats and Republicans. So this is a problem, and we need to find solutions for it. Then the other thing that I want to say is that probably before you give birth yourself, maybe even before you get pregnant, you should intern or be like an observer, a witness to some births, so that you can see how they happen, so you can be prepared. I almost want to say this should be something automatic for all females and even males who might be interested, so that there's no surprise at what happens if you get pregnant. And I think it's important that people see all sides of the reproduction possibilities. And so I think sort of interning as or with a midwife might be something that all pregnancy should have. People who are early on deciding to be a mother, maybe they should sit in and be an intern with a midwife or a doula so they can have that experience. I applaud us that we have more female OBGYNs now, because for a long time this was all in the hands of men. When I grew up, there were just no female gynecologists whatsoever in where I lived. And, I seeked them out, especially after hearing stories of some of these gynecologists impregnating their patients and doing all sorts of crazy things. I was really seeking out female gynecologists, and I still recommend that, because I don't think that the men have a full understanding of what it's like to give birth. They are usually only an observer, and I think it's time that we bring birthing back to the women's world. Not that all men are, I just don't think they have a full understanding. It's just not possible because they're men. So their interest is more in watching than understanding. And some things are just not explainable. So I do think that birthing is really a female thing, and it needs to go back under the control of females. Then I also want to say that, being pregnant and giving birth is very stressful for a woman. And to do it in a foreign land, in a foreign language, is extremely difficult. So I know that firsthand because I was in Switzerland and my German was terrible. And I had difficulty understanding all the obligations. At that time, there was no Google Translate. So there was no way to really translate things unless you sat down and translated it word for word. And it was just a difficult time. And so today it's slightly easier. And we do have now more apps that can do automatic translation. So it is a different time than even when I gave birth only 25 years ago. But back then, if you were in a country where you didn't speak the language, there was even more a level of stress involved because of that lack of being able to explain yourself. And so I think being progressive with birthing is a good thing, but we also want to remember that it's from women and it's a woman thing and it's natural. So a little bit traditional with progressive concepts. And one thing too is that orgasmic birth is something that is being discovered now, that it is quite possibly what we're supposed to be having an orgasm with as women. It happens almost automatically as the child is coming out. So it hits all the clitoral stimulation areas. So I think the fact that lying on your back takes away that opportunity, I think we have to stop that practice immediately all over the world. You should be standing, or maybe even, I don't know, being on at least on your knees and maybe knees and hands. Perhaps that even helps a bit. But I think standing or kneeling, squatting, all of these things will help to activate the orgasm, as well as self-stimulation. And it is perfectly normal to have an orgasm, even multiple orgasms, during the birthing process. So I highly recommend everyone look that up, because it really is part of it. I believe it probably helps to get the baby in place, to bring it out, and to make the bond between mother and baby stronger. Plus, it will activate your breastfeeding possibilities, and your mental health will be better. So I really, anyone who is almost there to giving birth, it's something to definitely look into if you haven't already. And so it's time to take back the birthing process. Like I said, men don't know and didn't know at all about female orgasm until lately. So I think, by putting us on our backs so that they could watch has been extremely detrimental to the mother-child bond. And it needs to be stopped immediately. And a new way has to be done. So this is, I always make this sort of for young ladies out there who are going through the birthing pregnancy issues. And I make these videos, well, for ladies all over, of all ages too, but mostly, especially for my daughter, so that she can know my knowledge and utilize it in her own life experience, and maybe her life will be different, and her connection to her baby might be more pleasurable, and as a whole, I'm trying to find solutions. And as I get older, I read a lot, I learn a lot, and when I discover new possibilities that sound like they make sense, I want you and my daughter to know this. So that is why I'm making these videos, to help us all have a better start to our life together as mother and child, and to bring back the traditions that have been lost due to the killing of witches and sorcerers, and I don't know what else they wanted to call them, but we've lost a lot of information at the hands of religious people and men who just had total power over their women for whatever reason, and burned them and killed them and did all sorts of things to them, sent them to the mental house. And so this is a going backwards, so that we can or not going backward, it's a reintroduction of things that we once knew, that we lost, that are here again to be used in a happy and healthy way. Because ultimately, that's what we want. Happy and healthy mothers and children, and homes and families and people, right? That's my goal. Okay, so on that note, I hope you enjoyed this discussion. I hope to eventually have some people join me. That's my ultimate goal, but for right now, it is just me and just my research that I do on a daily basis. So thank you for stopping by, and I wish you a nice day wherever you are. And although this is supposed to be from last month in December, it's now already 2026. So I wish you a lot of happiness and joy and pleasure in your new year in 2026. Happy New Year. Okay. Bye for now. Thanks for stopping by.